All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be talking about Gervonta Tank Davis, who had some words for Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, or at least his training camp did, and letting people know exactly what needed to take place for that fight to happen after the Ryan Garcia fight. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be in the 135-pound division again, where Gervonta Tank Davis's team answered questions about a fight with between Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney, or Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson, and they said absolutely, man, we want to make those fights happen but they threw out there that word that I just used, but. Now, but these things need to happen. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. Cannot tell you how much it matters to the channel. Thank you so much to my guys, Lone Star Steph, Jeff Campbell. Even though Jeff Campbell, man, you got to come on with all of this stuff with your boy Bud. My man Timothy, Deborah Booker, Barbara D, everybody that comes by the live streams and chops it up with me, Incel, all y'all. C. Dewberry, thank you guys so much for your support. And thank you to everybody that supports in the Super Thanks crew of videos like this. But the charter members being my guy, Mr. Pragmatic, Barbara D, and my man Matty Yole. Thank you guys for the tips of the hat. It really does make a big difference in the channel and allows me to talk about the things that I want to talk about. Like this. Last night, there was an absolutely fantastic interview that took place on Lefty's channel on Twitter in a space called Chicken Talk, where Calvin Ford and Coach Kenny from Upton Gym, the trainers for Gervonta Tank Davis, had a long interview talking about Tank, talking about the Ryan Garcia fight, talking about what's next for him after the Ryan Garcia fight. And they were specifically asked about a fight with Devin Haney and how they could go about making that fight without having, a lot more of this, back and forth kind of trash talking stuff that's been going on. And Coach Calvin Ford gave an answer and said, look, man, I've been speaking to friends. We actually analyzed and looked at the situation, looked at the numbers for everybody, and basically this is the deal. You said, look, we want to fight all of those dudes and we're going to fight those dudes, but they have to understand something. We're going to make the offer to them. And when we make the offer to them, then they're going to have a chance to accept the offer. And if they accept that offer, we can make the fight. If they don't, hey, man, that is on them. And the reason that he said that is like, look, we are in this, and they're not hiding this. They're not, for the people that have an issue with it. Hey, I can understand why you would have an issue with it. Wouldn't like that people talk like this. But he said, look, this is a business, and Gervonta Davis has earned the right to be the A side against any of these guys. And as a result of that, if we go fight these guys based on what Gervonta Davis has earned and the revenue that he pulls in, the pay-per-view numbers that he's done, though these guys are going to have to acquiesce to our demands to make this fight. And if they are willing to do it, then we can make that happen. Now, I have a suspicion about why he said that. Now, obviously, we just had a big fight negotiation that fell apart between Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. And the reason really was a lot of it revolved around, at least people say it revolved around the money, the offers that were made, whether this person gets a guarantee, doesn't get a guarantee, whether I'm going to fight in a neutral area, not fight in a neutral territory, all of that type of stuff, right? wind up causing problems, in getting that fight done. At least that's what it looks like to me on the outside. And that's the conversation was going on. At the end of the day, I don't think one guy wanted the fight, period. And it didn't matter what the other person was going to offer him, unless it was really, really, really out there. I don't think he was going to do it. But in the case of you take Errol Spence, the fight that we're talking about, which is Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson, or Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney, or Gervonta Davis versus Vasily Lomachenko. You're in a situation where Gervonta Davis, where he's saying, look, man, when we get past Ryan Garcia, now he did a $5 million gate and over 200,000 pay-per-views against Hector Garcia, who's a relatively unknown fighter. So the fight might have generated somewhere around $30 million. Between 20 and $30 million. He's going to go into these guys and say, okay, well, what numbers have you generated? And the answer that they're going to go into is that they're going to be able to talk about the number of the television viewership that they've made and the ticket sales for the fights that they've had, with the exception of, I do believe, Shakur Stevenson, who's fought in an arena, and I think he's going to be fighting in an arena for the second time in Newark. All these guys are fighting in ballrooms, and the fights that they headlined really are not generating any type of money near what Gervonta Davis is doing. So you're going to walking into a situation where it is going to be, I think it's going to be difficult to make the fight, honestly, because of Bob Arum. And again, because Bob Arum is not going to want to take a fight with, like, say it's Vasily Lomachenko or it's Shakur Stevenson, that he's going to want to take a fight with Gervonta Davis where Bob Arum's not going to make a lot of money. That's the same thing that Leonard Ellerbe had been saying for a while. I don't think that those numbers and those things are going to change, and those issues are going to change now that Leonard Ellerbe and Floyd Mayweather Jr. are not Gervonta Davis's promoters, because the numbers don't change. The business aspect of it doesn't change. But if they are able to, I think the best hope for it would probably be Devin Haney. If Devin Haney is able to, if it's in his contract that he's able to accept another deal with somebody else. But I don't think it's going to go through if Devin Haney and Bill Haney take the position that they are going to try to either take the fight to another network, or they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to find the money and offer the money to Gervonta Davis. I doubt very, very much that those guys are going to go for any of that, because they already have a scenario where they're making extremely good money, and a scenario where they're growing their names. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to get into the conversation about what percentage this person earns or not that person does. But I don't think it is whatever the scenario would be. It's not going to be what Ryan Garcia is getting, more than likely, because Ryan Garcia, like I said, aside from, when I brought up who actually is fighting in arenas, I think Shakur Stevens is the only one doing that. I think the rest of them are fighting in ballrooms, or smaller theaters than the 10,000. I think Shakur sold like 10,000 tickets in Newark, and I think he's going to go back there again. Well, Ryan Garcia is the one that is doing 12, 13,000 ticket sales in venues out west, right? So whatever the scenario is, it's probably not going to be as comfortable a deal as what Ryan Garcia got, and depending on if I'm saying these other guys' names, forgive me, if Gervonta Tank Davis wins that fight and it really does very, very big numbers, then the gap between these guys' earnings are really going to shift, right? But Tank is definitely saying, look, man, I'm the guy that's bringing them to the money to the table. So when we talk about the fight, as long as you're willing to fight under those scenarios, I'm okay with it. But if we get funny with the money, you can go ahead and fight somebody else. And On the real, with a guy in that type of situation, it's hard to argue with a guy in that scenario that he's wrong about that. You can look at it from a boxing point of view and try to pour water on him, and that's fine, because a boxing fan, you say, well, I just want to see the fight. I just want to see the best. I just want to see the best fight the best. That's fair if you want to just see the best fight the best. But when you look at these guys' particular scenarios, that looks a little bit more, that looks kind of understandable when you're in a situation where, you really are the one that's bringing most of the money to the table. You should probably be the one dictating the terms for the money. And another example of that clearly is where Canelo Alvarez didn't have any belts, and he moved up and he fought the guy that had the WBA belt, Dimitri Bivol, and Dimitri Bivol walked out first, and Canelo took the lion's shares of the money, even though Canelo Alvarez was not a champion, did not hold any belts. Dimitri Bivol walked out first, and the champion's interest was reserved for Canelo in a weight class that he didn't have a belt in. So, it is what it is. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.